Hello, 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 everybody. Beautiful Sunday, Jay Trody is again. We're not gonna waste no time today. Hey there, Joe. Hey there. We didn't see you on the video, brother. Can you hear me, Joe? We getting him in?
Yeah.
All right, brother. Just do the video. Let's get that video going, brother. Oh yeah, there he is.
There it is. What's up, Josh?
What's going on, man? Hey, welcome to Jay Trodius. You are now Gabbin with the Guvna. Man, without further ado, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you? And what are you about, brother?
I like that. I'm Joe Cang. I'm in London town in lockdown, and I'm all about the songs, man. What can I say? Singing them, writing them, producing them, and getting them out to you.
Hey, man, very much so, man. Very much so. Out there locked down in London town, but still keeping the soul going all around.
Always, brother. Yeah, always.
That's it, man. Yo, I met Joe indirectly online, man. We've got to work together already and have made some amazing records together, man. I'm highly impressed, man. You're
Likewise,
an amazing
man.
musician.
Likewise.
Okay. Do me a favor, man, and the rest of the world a favor. Tell people about your music journey. Where did it begin? Where hasn't it taken you? And where is it going?
Wow, that's deep. Yeah, man, I've been doing well. Okay, let me see. Where did it begin? That's interesting. It began young, just that magic, that magical musical, hearing it the first few, hearing the radio, I guess. I got an older brother who's a musician, and so there's three brothers. I'm the middle one. We're all musicians, all connected to music. And yeah, man, I just remember that was it. From when I first heard, I was like, I got to do more of that. I got to get involved in that. Getting a guitar. I never really was trained in music at all. I started singing songs young, like 7 or 8, something like that. Bashing out songs on the guitar. And then I didn't really go to school. That's like another whole dialogue. But I wasn't really at school, so I had a lot of time alone, just playing records, playing vinyl, at home, playing records, just I guess really now you would call that visualization. But then it was like a daydream kind of thing of just tripping out on, and kind of fast forwarding a bit, I started playing bass because my older brother was a great guitar player. So I was a bit like, he's already kind of got that. And he was happening. So I said, let me get a bass. And that took me into the kind of funk, like deep into the funk, Sly Stone, Larry Graham, all of that good stuff. And, but that was like balanced with hearing like radio, mainstream radio. And as I say, my older brother was like 3 years above me. So he was playing like, from the Beatles straight through the kind of classics, through the like prog rock, Pink Floyd, Todd Rundgren, but then Stevie, it's all Santana, all of that. The kind of hippie, trajectory, let's say. Yeah, man. Then playing bass. Let me try and think. Wow, it's funny going that far back. Then I was gigging from like about 15 years old. I was gigging, playing regularly, just playing bass. Just that was it, man. That's all I wanted to do, really. And that led me on to quite a lot of studios. I was fortunate to be in studios quite young, really. So the recording studio was like was a kind of mystical place then. Not like now where I'm just like doing everything, throwing it to you guys. you know, it was like a special rarefied world, you know. And but I was fortunate to be thrown in there quite early, so that became quite comfortable. And then I was on the road with a band called Scritti Politti, were kind of quite big. We're talking 80s, yeah, 80s. Yeah. So I did quite a lot of stuff with them, and then I was on the road with a guy called Ian Jury, big English musician band at the time, and various people. Man, I was just sessioning around, kind of hired gun. Yeah, and then I guess from that process, I found myself really like it started to run out of like I wasn't feeling it as much. I was getting frustrated and ended up in a situation. Our kind of mentor, like my musical mentor, was from Ghana, from West Africa. A man called Rubok Kwakuba, who was part of the band Traffic, who'd been with Rolling Stones and Traffic, and so he'd been really in that world. But yeah, I mean, like a huge influence. And he sadly passed very young. And from the pretty much the day that he passed, which was like an earthquake, you know, like end of the world, I really started to feel that I want to sing. I want to kind of remember that I used to sing, and this whole kind of song calling started to come back, which ended up leading me to living alone in the countryside for a while, growing a big beard, and yeah, see that exactly, and started to write songs. You know, it just became, I suddenly kind of rediscovered this world of, as opposed to like thinking as a musician and all of that. That's you know, as I say, I wasn't trained, so that becomes quite a scary world in a lot of ways. You're very reliant on who's calling you, and maybe you don't like it, but you've got to do the gig. You know what I mean? You're you're kind of a hired hand. I started to really discover these songs, and that's a very, I mean, in my experience anyway, it's a different process. It's more of a kind of channeled feeling, you know. You just have to kind of be quiet and see what you find and see what happens, and there's all these realms of possibilities to express. Sometimes you don't even know until you read it back, or you say, wow, okay, this, you know, it's like a novelist. You're sort of following some kind of a strange sat nav, you know.
It's like you're an antenna all of a sudden.
You really are, you know. It always sounds kind of, it could be, seems a bit, you know, pretentious to say, but I really did have that experience, you know, where they just started to arrive, these songs. I mean, some were pretty bad, I think, originally. Yeah. But yeah, that took me to a place of, let me try and think. Yeah, so then more, and also, you know, I had like the 4-track, the Porter Studio, so I started to become a bit more like, all right, let me, you know, let's try and understand why this doesn't work. Which led me to a bit more kind of early production stuff. Long and short of it, I met a great manager. A guy kind of saw me, and we just connected really. And he said, do you want to be you know, I think you can do something. And I said, you know what, I want to establish myself a bit more. I want a bit more security, really. Which sounds funny saying that now, but that's how, in my 20s, I thought I knew quite a lot. And in the end, he said, well, what about if I manage you? And I said, well, if you manage me, let's go for it, you know. I had a bunch of songs. And he got that. He initiated the meetings and the kind of connections that took us to Clive Davis, to Arista Records.
Wow.
And we signed a deal, man. I mean, so it happened relatively quickly from, as I say, I kind of discovered this songwriting, kind of rediscovered my singing, and, you know, that was there from young, but it had been kind of on pause in a way. And then we were just in this world of like making a record full scale, you know.
Yeah.
Proper budgets, proper money. And yeah, carried on from there, man. That record, I mean, the music business was kind of different then, you know. Studios were expensive. There was more kind of input. As my manager at that time said, he said, your record wasn't released, it escaped.
Oh, really? So
it kind of dropped at the time when there was like a big recession here. So it sort of didn't really happen. But the process of making the record was like I was just allowed to do whatever I wanted, really, you know. So deep experience, really deep experience.
Did you meet Clive during that time? Did you meet him?
Yeah, I met Clive. Yeah,
Man, you know, he's one of those big planets in the music world, in the music galaxy, man. That's
he
interesting.
really is, man. And you know what? I mean, I was quite young, and my manager, he understood. He kind of understood. So he didn't really. I didn't really. It sounds funny to say now, but I didn't quite understand who he was really. And so when we went in his office, and like the vibe in that office was, it's like you're meeting royalty. I mean, people are like visibly, you know, they're nervous, right?
Right.
You walk in this office, he's got, at that time in New York, he flew me to New York and had this huge picture behind him of him with Sly Stone.
Nice.
Sly with like the huge hair. And I was like, dude, did you, what? And he was like, I didn't realize that. I hadn't had, you know, this is pre-Google, right? I hadn't really done my research. And he was like, yeah, I signed Sly Stone. I was like, man, that's it. I grew up on that.
Yeah.
So we had this kind of really, I was just so much. And I mean, they were cool. You know, it was a good situation, but unfortunately the record didn't really get the love, but I mean, for various reasons. And then, Jay, I moved into writing for other people. You know, I kind of realized that was something I could do without, you know, the turnover was fast. You know, you could maybe hang with someone for a couple of days, write a bunch of stuff, and then they're going to go off and do all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
It has, all these jams have their own timelines. You never know. They could come out right off the bat.
Yeah, really.
They could come
Exactly.
out 6-7 years later, man. It's tripped out. They all have their own little timelines.
And they really do. It's amazing how that goes, you know. So that led me to write with Hall Oates.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were on Aris as well. They heard what I was doing, got in touch. So that was cool. Got a couple with them. And then with a UK band called Aswad, who were a reggae band, but quite a lot of crossover here. So that was our kind of, had a lot of success with them. And then in Japan, they had a lot of love in Japan. Yeah, man. And then just, you know, just got the bug for writing. And really, since then, I was making records independently. And yeah, are we still on point? I can't remember what the original question was.
Like, you know, it's interesting, man. Like, you know, like how we've met, where, you know, like we've crossed paths. And you know, and one thing that's important to me, not just with this album and all of us, but just all the people I've met in my musical journey, man. Like, it just hit me, especially while we're all sitting on our ass, is I was like, man, I've got to show the world. I got to document this.
I'm great. It's great that you're doing it, man. It's great. It's important.
The cool thing about it, man, is like I'm getting to hear things about people I've worked with that I didn't even know. Like I didn't know your full story. I just knew that Maverick told me that there's some guy that just is an amazing ass musician. He came right in and just wrecked the shit, and I just so it's never been about the, you know, doing it because of
no for real.
or anything like that. It's just, man, there's an amazing musician. We're gonna make amazing music. So
like Q's cool like that. Like the way we met, he just had the room next to my studio. We had a spot, you know, with a few studios. And yeah, it's weird, you know, like some people just, you meet, you get on, there's that kind of, you recognize something in each other, or they respond, and that's it. It just, the rest is almost, again, it just kind of happens, you know. You can, there's a good quote from Elvis Costello. He says, talking about music is like dancing about architecture. And I always love that. It's like, it doesn't really make sense, you know, until you start playing. Once you started doing something together, then there's a bit more language, you know. But it's and particularly now, like you say, we're all kind of, you know, we're locked up with ourselves, right? And yet, you know, I've been doing, someone just sent me, I got a session to do tonight, playing on someone else's stuff. They played brass on a tune that I've just written about this situation. And, you know, it's all flying around, and it's like, it's amazing, really. You know, you
know, it's like, you know, in anything, in any necessary thing, I tell everybody right now, you really have to tap into yourself and be an alchemist. And right now, you got to turn the bullshit into cool shit.
Yeah, for real.
You know, and that's what it's about, man. Either you sit here and throw a pity party,
Yeah,
or you get into you mash the gas and you rock and roll the best way you know how.
for real, for real. And there's a unity. There's a sense of unity. I mean, it's around. You know, you feel it now. Like we get a little walk in every day, and if you see someone in the street, you know, I mean, you know, where I live is fairly mellow, but still London. You know, it's still a big city, and you see someone in the street, you can give a nod, like, cool. It's just like everyone feels like there's a little more awareness of everyone's commonality, you know.
Man,
it's a lovely.
Now, so did you technically? Are you technically from London, or did you grow up?
Yeah, man. No, I'm from here. I'm born in Camden Town. That's it. Yeah, my father's originally from Poland. He was a refugee he was on the last train out of Warsaw in 1939 when they were bombing the city. He's literally the last train he was on as a kid.
Man.
But so I grew up here. Yeah.
You know, and we're gonna have our chapter out there soon after the pandemic lets off. You know, I look forward to meeting all of y'all in person.
Real, man.
We've done so much work together. I mean, even with me and Quest now, where it's been like 3 or 4 years we've been making music, and we've never met in person.
It's crazy, yeah, it's crazy.
You know, that's the power of the internet right now when it comes to us creatives. It's like, you know, you have no excuse. Even if somebody in your own town don't want to mess with you, you got the rest of the world.
You got the world, man.
As long as you put yourself out there.
Yeah. But where you were coming to London, right? Or you?
Yeah. That's still, you know, it's probably gonna be pushed back a little bit, and but the plan is to get out there and man, drinks all of y'all with this Texas funk, man. You know, I'm coming, Cat Daddy. I'm coming up. I got a lot of electricity with me, man. I'm ready. I'm ready, man. So as we move into now, I'm sure we can go all down. Man, it sounds like you got so many amazing stories, man, and the ones you've shared. Wow. And so now, I've been seeing online that you got this new album. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So okay, that's interesting. So I for the last like 3 years, something like that, I started a project with a close friend, an amazing pianist called Matteo Saggesi, old friend, dear friend. We've written a lot of stuff together over years. We've made albums together, but essentially kind of under my name. And we kind of reconnected and said, let's do an album like live in the room, like absolutely live in the room. Nothing, you know, no click, no overdub, nothing. And we did, and the band's called Loco Ironico. So we made 2 albums like that in a small house in Italy, one 4 years ago, one 2 years ago. So we were kind of going through that process and playing a lot live and building that, and that's still good. I mean, in fact, we were just in Italy in January playing a big show, and we had a bunch of shows booked. Obviously, that's all cancelled now. So.
Right.
But during this period where I met Quest, actually, I had a studio, and I just kind of realized I had so many other songs, and it's great doing stuff with the band, but I kind of just felt this need to basically have nothing left on a hard drive that should be available, you know? So I started kind of compiling these songs, and the more I did it, I was like, damn, there's a lot of songs here. So I made 3 albums. Nice. The first one's called Slow Time. And I wrote a few new ones and kind of put it together. And it's that's going to drop in May. And I put the first single out beginning at the end of last year officially. And then we've got 2 more just came out this week. And we're just letting a few flow out, a couple of videos out next week. Nice. And then we'll drop the album in May. And that's like, it's a little, I mean, it's always kind of wide what I do, Josh, you know, it's like, I kind of move between a few kind of, you know, bookends. This has a lot more generally acoustic elements. It's predominantly me alone in the studio.
Yeah.
And it's got this, you know, the album's called Slow Time. It has a kind of quite a gentle sort of place that it takes you to. And then, like I say, there's 2 more backed up behind that, ready to roll. And yeah, I'm kind of at the point now where slightly heightened by this situation. I just think, you know what? Let's just let stuff flow out. Let's just flow it all out there. You know, I suppose I've grown up a little more old school where you're kind of holding stuff back for the moment, you know, to deliver. I think it's changed. It's changed for me anyway. How I process it. You know, I just want it to be available, and
man,
hopefully grab somebody, connects with somebody, or you know, there's all these kind of. It feels more authentic now to just share the stuff. You know?
You know, it's interesting, man, because I mean, I literally had a conversation because of this album that we put together. I had a conversation with Peter Darkwa, and we had to decide whether we were gonna try to wait till after this, or just drop shit. And it was like, well, we could do it now, or we could hopefully hope that we have later.
Yeah, for real.
And it hit me some kind of way. That conversation, not only with
exactly.
It was like, damn, it's really that real, or at least they're playing it to us like it is.
Well,
and it just hit me. So I went through the same process where I was like, I just started going into my archives and just started releasing stuff. I'm like, there's no, you know, we always knew we weren't promised tomorrow, but something like this for me, and I'm sure for you and other people, has been like, man, let's live now. Let's live right now.
Yeah,
let's do right now. Let go of the weight. Let it out. Let go. We apparently will make more, God willing. You know, it's interesting too, man, because I years ago I had done a tribute to George Duke when he had just passed in Harlem, and something that hit me then too. They were like all the guys that had came that had played with him in the past, and a lot of the OGs, and they were like, man, you realize George had his hand on 20,000 plus records before he died. Whether it was just him clapping or tapping or playing an instrument, he did so much, and that blew my mind. That just blew my mind. I'm like, 20,000. I'm like, what the fuck?
But it is like, you know, that's in a way is exactly that. Like it's, you know, the industry previously everything was given this special value, you know, held back, whereas in a way it's like completely the opposite now, you know. And so when you take that away, plus it doesn't really matter, it matters less for, in a way, what we're talking about, like kind of who you are, how old you are. You know, if you're not in that kind of X Factor world, you know, there is still an amount of that. But if you're not in that world, I think it's just far more one-to-one, you know, people connect. Like if they're feeling it, if 5 people are like, it's the greatest thing they've heard, that's amazing. And like, you can literally just send it to the guy direct, you know, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary time to be involved in it.
It really, really is, and that's something also too, man. Because you know, the guy Raymond Brown, he's tour manager for Earth, Wind and Fire, and I got to have a conversation with him, and he told me his only advice that he told me, he was like, Jay, whether it's 5 or 5 million, give them your fucking all. Give them your all.
Absolutely.
Pour it on them. And you know, and go, and just go.
Yeah.
You know, so
I think it takes you to an interesting kind of perspective inward, because you only really then have your own navigation, and it's your own quality control. You know what I'm saying? Like when because there's always someone to blame when there's someone else stopped you with a business, which, you know, and it can be a weird business historically. But now, in a way, if you want to do it, you know, you can upload to all the platforms. You can do everything for minimal cost. You can make records for minimal cost. You can share internationally, as you were saying, globally. So, like, in a way, you need to just do it. Now, obviously, there's, you know, the reality.
You have no more excuses. There never have been excuses before, but there's really none now. Really.
Yeah, you got to face it. You know what I mean? So then you got to face yourself, and that's it can be a challenging place, but I find it a very inspiring place to be, actually.
Yeah.
Even like when I'm doing something, I just finished a new tune like last week, about this current situation. And you know, and at one point, you know, when you're working alone and you're mixing up, I'm doing everything on it. So there's a lot of hats to wear and at a certain point, I'm like, oh, you know, is that right? And I said, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. Like overall, I'm happy with it. So if the snare's a little quiet or the, you know, it's not, that's not the important stuff. That won't make the difference. As we used to say in the studio, it will not affect sales.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's either happening or it's not happening.
Feel like you didn't spice it up right, man, whatever. Somebody's going to eat that shit. Somebody's going to eat it, going to enjoy that, you know? So it is what it is. Now, I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everybody on this show, man. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, what do you want to leave the earth behind? What is the Joe Cang legacy?
Oh, dude. Wow. Musically?
Whatever. Music, life, whatever. What is the Joe Cang legacy?
Oh, man. That's deep. That's deep. I would hope that I've maybe expressed some things that I've been able to express through whatever I've been given to do, that's maybe hard for other people to express. Lyrically, whatever, you know, in some way being able to say something that when people hear it, they're like, yeah, I know that. And I can have a medium or an ability or whatever to do that. I think that's probably as good as I'm gonna achieve.
You know, it's funny, man. I asked that question to see where people's mind, to make them think. Because one thing I realized after I've interviewed people, like, you know, that it makes them think about it on the spot. But then after we get off this interview, they go and think about it.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. It's deep. No, it's deep. I mean, you know, other times you maybe would, you know, other than the kind of like trying to live reasonably well. Let's say. I think that's something that's moved me the most. Like when I've played live or people have heard something and they've been really touched by it and can resonate with it and connect with. And it's not even particularly with you, the person. It's just like this thing's come through. You've put it together and you've presented it authentically, and it's become someone's favorite song to lift them up or bring out an emotion or clarify. You know, that's a very privileged position, I think.
Yeah,
you know?
It really
so
is.
I feel privileged to do that, and that's a cool legacy, I think. If a handful of people feel a little better.
Man, there it is. And before we leave, tell everybody, how do they get to your world online? Like what's your social media for the people out there?
Social media, I have to get this right actually. So it's my surname's spelled C-A-N-G, pronounced Sang, but spelled Cang, so it's kind of weird. So joecang.com, JOECANG music on Facebook. I'm pretty sure that's right. And it's Joe_Sang_official on Instagram. I think that's what we got right now. The Twitter and the other ones are a little sketchy, but those are the main ones. So yeah, hit me up.
That's it, man. Y'all be, dude. I am so glad that we've crossed paths on
me too, Josh.
And a musical level, man. We're far from done. We've already spoke about this all here. We got work to do, man. We got some amazing music to make together, and I look forward to watching your journey as well, even outside of what we're doing. And man, infinite blessings to you, and keep doing what you do, man. And bro,
thanks, Josh. Stay well, man. Stay well out there, brother.
Hey, we will. Hey, to the rest of everybody, this is Jay Tronius. You've been gabbing with the Guvna, with Joe Cang in the building, locked down in London town, love and light. Hey, man, y'all stay up and stay blessed. Appreciate you, bro.
And you, man. Stay good. Love.